Welcome to Midday Report, coming to you live from Warsaw. I'm Saria Strzemska. Ukraine and Hungary are locked in a new diplomatic spat. Ukraine's Foreign Minister Andrii Sybiha says Hungarian authorities have detained 7 employees of Ukraine's state savings bank. The dispute comes amid tensions over the Druzhba pipeline, which carries Russian oil to Hungarian refineries. For the latest, we go live to our correspondent Andrew Sweeney, who is in Prague. Andrew, so where do things stand now with the detention of these Ukrainian bankers?
Well, this is what we know. Last night, Andrii Sybiha announced that those 7 men had been arrested and seized by the Hungarian authorities while transporting around 80 million euros in cash and 9 kilograms of gold. We've since learned that Hungary's tax authorities said they'd been investigated over allegations of money laundering. But the story has since developed. The Ukrainian Prime Minister, Yulia Tymoshenko, said that this act by the Hungarian authorities of detaining the 7 men was reminiscent of the criminality of the 1990s. Let's have a listen to what she said.
Hungary taking 7 Ukrainians hostage in a method reminiscent of 1990s-era Moscow would be a bit surprising if it hadn't come just a few days after the Orban entourage's visit to the Kremlin. The Ukrainian government is demanding an immediate release of our citizens. We will take appropriate action to hold those responsible for their detention accountable. We also urge our partners to react strongly. Such arbitrary detentions demand clear international condemnation.
Now, what Yulia Sverdinka was referencing there was a visit of Hungary's Foreign Minister Péter Szijjártó to Moscow earlier this week, where he retrieved 2 Hungarian prisoners of war who were fighting for Ukraine, and both men are Ukrainian citizens. This has also come at a time when several Russian, you might call them election experts, have arrived in Hungary, meeting with Prime Minister Viktor Orban, and it seems like they will be connecting with the Hungarian government to advise them on the upcoming general election on April 12, where Prime Minister Viktor Orban is behind in the polls. Now, Péter Szijjártó has already taken to social media to make the Hungarian government's position clear, and said that not only were the 7 Orshad Bank members transporting this huge amount of money and of cash and gold through Hungary to Ukraine, but since the start of January, over €1 billion of euros and in dollars and in gold has been transported through the country from Austria. Let's listen to what he had to say in a little bit more detail.
We demand immediate answers from Kiev regarding large cash shipments passing through Hungary that raise serious questions about a possible link to the Ukrainian war mafia. Since January, $900 million and 420 million euros in cash, as well as 146 kilograms of gold, have been transported across Hungary. If this is truly a transaction between banks, why was it not carried out by transfer? Why move such enormous sums in cash through our country?
Now, what he's saying about the Ukrainian war mafia there is a campaign foundation for the Fidesz party of Viktor Orban. He say that not only is Ukraine trying to influence Hungary, but it's funding the candidacy of Peter Magyar and the opposition Tisza party wants to restore relations with Europe. This is all coming at a time, as you say, with regards to the crisis of the Druzhba pipeline. Russian oil stopped flowing from Russia to Hungary and Slovakia via Ukraine. Yesterday, Prime Minister Orban said he was ready to take forceful measures to ensure that the return of the Russian oil, and President Zelensky responded to that quite vociferously, just saying that he would be willing to give the contact details of the people leading the country, blocking a 90 billion loan for Ukraine to the Ukrainian armed forces. Of course, he meant Hungary. This is an ongoing story. We're likely to see more developments, and certainly while Orban will be using this to bolster his chances of winning the next general election by portraying himself as a strong man, the people perhaps most concerned about this will be Brussels, looking aghast at the relations now that are just deteriorating every day between Hungary and Ukraine. Back to you.
Andrew Sweeney reporting from Prague. Thank you, much appreciated. Moving on to the Middle East, the United States and Israel are continuing their strikes on Iran, now in day 7 of the conflict. Israel says it has achieved near-complete air superiority, claiming it has destroyed about 80% of Iran's air defense systems. Meanwhile, as Iran prepares to introduce a new supreme leader, U.S. President Donald Trump says he wants a say in the matter.
Rescue workers search for survivors in central Iran as the conflict enters its 7th day. after another night of American and Israeli strikes across the country. In Lebanon, Israeli defense forces continued air assaults on southern Beirut, targeting the Iranian-backed Hezbollah, which has attacked Israeli ground forces and military sites. French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot has called on Israel to avoid launching ground incursions into Lebanon. He said France will send armoured vehicles to support the Lebanese armed forces as they work to disarm Hezbollah. As of Friday morning, Tehran had launched more than 1,000 drones and 196 ballistic missiles at the United Arab Emirates, according to The Economist. Overnight, Iran continued targeting US bases in the Gulf region, including here in Kuwait. In Washington, President Donald Trump said Tehran has reached out.
They're tough and they want to fight. And they're calling, they're saying, how do we make a deal? I said, you're being a little bit late. And we want to fight now more than they do. Very important.
Trump wants a say in who rules Iran next. Venezuela, which earlier this year saw the overthrow of former President Nicolas Maduro, on Thursday resumed diplomatic relations with the US. This may be the model he's pursuing in Iran. Some analysts say it will be Trump rather than Israel who decides if a deal is done over Iran's nuclear program and when the war ends.
The Israeli government is totally dependent on Trump. And it is Trump who will make the decision when the war ends and how it ends. We've seen it in June 25, when Trump basically ordered the Israeli government to stop operations against Iran, and even Israeli airplanes that flew to Iran were called back. And the same thing we think will happen in this war.
Early Friday also saw the first group of Poles evacuated by military transport from the Middle East.
Thank you very much for what has already been done. I know that many people are working hard to ensure that these evacuation opportunities are used to the maximum. 2 military planes have already landed with people who needed help most of all. We called them medical flights, but we also know that healthy people found the opportunity to evacuate there.
On Friday, a total of 8 flights are planned, bringing 1,500 people back home to Poland. Polish officials say that since March 1st, more than 2,800 people have been evacuated from high-risk areas on civilian flights or with the help of consular services.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk is urging President Karol Nawrocki and National Bank of Poland Governor Adam Glapiński to quickly present details of their proposed zero-interest safe alternative. The appeal comes after the two unveiled a plan for a Polish version of the Security Action for Europe program, which they say would be financed with support from the central bank.
If National Bank President Glapiński or President Nawrocki have anything concrete to say about this additional money from the National Bank of Poland for the arms industry and Poland's defense and security, they shouldn't delay or hesitate. It cannot be a political jewel or an alternative to what has already been achieved. But the proposal could create good synergy if it's serious and if it's genuine. Provide specifics as soon as possible, and I promise you we'll turn it into a bill in a matter of hours. And if it lands on my desk today, by Monday we'll have a bill in Parliament to activate those funds. But as I said, let's do it quickly, seriously, without politics, and let's do it in the spotlight, so that there is no ambiguity.
Romanian President Nicu Șordan said that as a NATO member, Romania remains protected by the alliance's nuclear umbrella led by the United States. Speaking to TV Plural's Paweł Trzaskowski in an exclusive interview, he said it is too early to discuss expanding an independent nuclear deterrent.
First of all, as we are NATO, we are covered by the NATO umbrella, which is given by the United States. So that's clear. If not, I think it's too early to speak. Of course, we have a very good relation with France, a relation which is developing now. Also, there have been some things that have not been solved for last year have been solved in these 9 months when I was president. So
Have you been solving specifically?
No, questions on cooperation on different level. Ones have been solved by yes, others by no, but they are solved now. And so the relation between Romania and France it's expanding, growing. But it's too early to speak technically of nuclear question.
Natural gas supplies from Qatar booked for April and may come late or not reach Poland at all, says Orlen, the country's most important importer of the commodity. Despite current geopolitical issues, Poland's gas supply is secure.
This is Ras Laffan, the biggest liquefied natural gas plant in the world, located in Qatar. This single facility covers 1/5 of the world's LNG supply, and it's out of operation due to Iranian attacks. This event impacts Poland directly, as Qatar Energy, the company running the Ras Laffan complex, just informed its customers, including Poland's Orlen, that LNG shipments booked for the end of the second quarter may be disturbed. But in Orlen's HQ in Warsaw, the mood is calm. Qatar is responsible for 1/10 of Poland's natural gas supply. However, shipments booked for March have already left the Strait of Hormuz, the critical passage being held hostage by Iran due to the ongoing conflict. What's more, Orlen's fleet of LNG tankers has not been grounded in the Persian Gulf, so the company has the flexibility to reroute them as needed. Poland's natural gas supply is also diversified, with 1/5 of the demand covered by domestic production and 1/3 coming from Norway through a pipeline. The country also gets most of its LNG from the US. After an unusually harsh winter, Poland is also left with plenty of natural gas in storage. Poland was set to receive only 2 shipments from Qatar in April and May. Altogether, this shields the country somewhat from the wild swings of the global gas market, with prices of the commodity surging to around €50 per megawatt hour, or almost twice as much as in February.
Kosovo's President Vjosa Osmani dissolved parliament on Friday, paving the way for snap elections after lawmakers failed to choose her successor before the given deadline.
According to Kosovo's constitution, the president is chosen by the assembly, and the election must take place no later than 30 days before the end of the president's term. In this case, the parliament had until midnight on Thursday to agree on Kosovo's next leader, but that did not happen.
Therefore, today I am not making a political decision, but I am fulfilling a clear constitutional duty, and I will return the word to those who in democracy always have the last word, to the citizens of the Republic of Kosovo.
In the view of Prime Minister Albin Kurti, the opposition is to blame for the outcome.
On the technical side, what we need to elect a president is we need to have 2/3 of the parliamentarians present and voting in the first round. If we don't have that, then automatically it's failed, so the vote is failed. The fact is that the opposition decided not to come to the vote, knowing fully well that this would lead to new elections.
The opposition is said to have boycotted the vote because they did not think any of their picks for president would stand a chance.
So what they are saying now is that they did not show up because the Vetvendosia party and Albin Kurti want total control of the government. That's why they only put forward their people. They were not open for compromises. And of course, from the Vetvendosia side, we hear that they were very open to compromises. They were asking the other parties to put up candidates.
Against a turbulent political backdrop, the approaching election will be Kosovo's third in just over a year.
And with this, we conclude Midday Report. Thank you for watching, and please stay tuned for